Hello, everyone, and welcome to Office Hours, where we assemble every single day to answer your media and tech-related production questions. Jason Bache in Albuquerque, New Mexico, is our reader today. Jason, what have we got?
Caleb Groom in Pinehurst, North Carolina asks, I want to build out a mobile rack for live streaming and event production. I use vMix instead of a Blackmagic Design mountable switcher. Can you recommend a mobile rack that can hold a 4U server with a depth of 21 inches?
We had a nice discussion of this. Ronnie Hofsoy is going to start us off. Ronnie?
Yeah, so one of the basic, the base questions I would ask is, how are you going to transport the case itself? So are you going to put that into something or just fly it in a bigger flat case or similar? So one of the things that we have been very, very satisfied with in Norway and Scandinavia, and they are start shipping international as well, is something called Rufo, and they have made flat cases for our industry, both army, governmental, medics, and the entertainment industry for ages. And they have developed a new product, and I just ordered one of these. This is a 3U, 2U, 1U, 4U, 5, 6 U's. You can have it in all the different units, and they also have this in specific sized Pelican cases or other cases as well. One of the cases or the boxes I would be suggesting is one of the so-called PTS full size, which is the handle is turned the other way, so you have maximum depth, and it looks like this when you are putting it together. And these are made of really, really rugged aluminum forms, and they also have shock mounts in the front and in the back, rack mount systems. And they are, of course, patent pending. It's modular. You can build it the way you would like to have it, and the flexibility is almost limitless. These are the sizes and dimensions, and this is the bigger systems where you can have multiple of these racks inside a bigger case. And they also have different rack positions, as you can see here. So the handle can be turned around, and you can also adjust the depth. So if you have plugs that needs to be plugged in front of it, you can just push it a little bit back in the case. And the same goes with the rack mount in the back of the case if you have that as well. So this is a really, really flexible system, and rumors have it that they are starting shipping internationally as well. So I would just have a little look at adding, and then when you have done that, look at everything else. There are so many providers that produce these types of cases, but the main question would still be, how are you going to transport it inside or just for itself?
Courtney Gooden.
Yeah, now I don't know if they make the 21-inch. I use these Gator cases. They're typically 19. I think they're 12 U's. 12 U's have a 21-inch depth. But they make some unique cases for mobile production, which is kind of interesting. These are designed for audio production, so they have a 10U top. In other words, you can put a mixer in here, and you take off the top, and you have access to the mixer. And down below, you have basically a way to put all your rack-mounted accessories that go with that mixer in the bottom. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know what the depth is on these. It may be 21 inches, but this 4U bottom might be able to service a server in the bottom if it's deep enough for you. And they're great for local transport. I would not necessarily want to throw them on an airplane because they're just ABS molded plastic, vacuum form plastic, so they could dent pretty easily.
Guy Cochran.
Yeah, this is one of those where do you want to build it yourself or do you want somebody else to build it for you? Because there are blank cases. I could get the exact name from our friend Greg Gibson. He has one that he built and that he keeps at a client's and he just rolls it in, but he built it all by hand. And then we have our friend Chris Sabato, who recently got one of these, which is the Puget systems, and this is where I would be looking. I just reached out to these guys recently because I said, hey, could you just make a live event section when you search by type on your site, because they have all these different pre-made systems for like animation and things like that. But you can see the prices here. I'd shop around a little bit, $3,500 for that one. I mean, you could walk it up with a 4U or a 5U rack mount for $7,000. You know, they've got AMD as well as Intel versions, but this is who I would give a call to if I was going to get a proper vMix workstation.
Caleb, hope that helped you. Next question.
Mike Edwards in Brooklyn, New York asks, morning, everyone. What's the golden rule for routing with switcher and video hub? Do the feeds go directly into the switcher first and then route to the video hub, or is it the other way around? That's a great question.
Ronnie Houseoy, what's your standard?
Well, this is a trick question. I guess if I knew this person, I would probably think he is trying to put me to the side. The truth is both. So you put all the inputs coming from cameras or sources into the input side of the hub. Then you go out from the output of the hub to any things that are going to receive these signals. That could be displays, or it could be a switcher. Then from the switcher, you have outputs. They are going into the inputs on the hub as well, so that you can route any input on your switcher to any of the displays or sources. Just make sure that you don't route the input from the hub that is coming from one of the output back into the switcher. You will get an endless loop, and the colors will suddenly start to change on your image.
Just make sure the gazoutas go into the gazintas and you'll be fine. Next question.
Alton Christensen in New York asks, interesting new approach to live stream plane spotting. The folks at Flight Radar 24 have cobbled together some interesting tech to follow aircraft traffic in Las Vegas. It's not just Las Vegas, Alton.
I'm not sure if anybody took a look at this. It sounds interesting. I'm wondering if somebody's going to, if you have a product that follows flights incredibly accurately, I wonder if you'd have a knock on your door from somebody going, why are you following flights in this day and age? I don't know. Jason Bass, did you take a look at this?
So, no, I haven't looked at the video, but I'm familiar with Flight Radar 24. I've been using it and participating in it for years because I live close enough to an airport. The neat thing about Flight Radar 24 is from very early on, you could get a Raspberry Pi, plug a small receiver up to it, and contribute to the tracking of planes wherever you are. You give it your GPS, and I just had a really, really old iMac and then a Mac Mini, just kind of, reporting. And I thought it was spectacularly cool. I'm not sure what that video is about, and I'm not sure if it's something brand new about Las Vegas, but yeah, pretty neat.
Courtney Gooden.
Well, I think if you look at the video, this goes a lot further than just tracking them on a radar screen. This actually has video cameras at the airport that track the planes as they land, and as well as giving you the information on each plane that they're tracking. It shows you a picture of it and where its source and destination were, et cetera. And so they have images like, I guess they've set up automated cameras that track each plane going in, goes-intas and goes-outas the Las Vegas airport. Look, there's the sphere in the background of the airport. But yeah, apparently this is a video tracking that lets you actually see video of the planes landing, and maybe even it lets you hear the comms between the tower and the plane as they're taxiing down the runway after they land. So that certainly looks a lot more interesting than just tracking those little blips on the image of whatever country you're looking at, so you can tell where they are in relationship to where you are.
Yeah, the tragedy of 9/11, the thing that still sticks with me after that was watching the radar screens. I had no clue that many airplanes were in the air at one time, and somebody did a radar view of everything kind of shutting down during that. And I'm still to this day amazed at how many aircraft fly over us literally any minute. It's just stunning. So I guess anything that keeps everybody aware of what's going on out there and helps provide intelligence is probably a good thing. Next question.
Our own Guy Cochran in Seattle, Washington asks, could you use a 48-volt mic input to Dante? Meet Jeff.
And I looked at this morning and I said, Jeff with one F, that's kind of how Jeff Keithley, our friend, spells his name, and that's very unusual. And then I asked Guy, and Guy, what's going on?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because it's amazing what this community can do and the impact that it can have. A few years ago, we were wandering around in after hours at Infocom, and there was this booth we stopped by called RDL, and these guys make a lot of different adapters. So this one here is $895, and it's a 4-input mic input, so you can run mic or line into this device, and then it'll convert it over to Dante. But it only has one Dante primary, not a secondary. And so when we had these guys from Turtle AV on extra hours as guests for the show to interview and just see what was going on with the world of Dante AV, Jeff said, hey, you know what I really need? And he said, I need something like this adapter, basically, because he does a lot of tennis, and I've been on the courts. We got to get that sound of those balls hitting, different spots on the court. And so we have Sennheiser shotgun mics all over the place. And so he said it'd be great if you had one that had not only just a primary, but also a secondary. And then I want to be able to control that unit from the truck or from Dante Domain Manager, from Companion. And so they announced this morning on LinkedIn, they said, meet Jeff, and it's spelled exactly like Jeff Keithley because he's the one who mentioned it. And so they're coming to town with this thing for $274, and you can talk to it through Companion, which is pretty cool. So you can control it via Stream Deck, central control, and a lot of input from our very own Jeff Keithley to get this hardware to market. So it's cool to see, things like parametric EQs and filters But yeah, that's a device that because of us, it got fast-tracked and is in production.
I don't think we started out to be a development platform, but I think a lot of people have come in, seen what we do, and see the fact that there's a lot of very smart people who show up here every day and know a lot about production, and they're taking advantage of it. So congratulations to Jeff. Congratulations to Office Hours. We'll take a small pat on the back because they had to actually do the thing. But if it solves a problem for somebody, that's great. That's part of why we're here. Next question.
Paul Walhus in Austin, Texas asks, discuss the philosophy. When does adding more cameras cease to increase production value and simply complicate the technical director's job?
I'm going to start with Courtney Gooden here. Courtney.
Well, when does it increase the production value? Almost always. And when does it complicate the technical director's job? Almost always. No. They have ways of simplifying this now as you get to big sporting events that have, 53 cameras, et cetera. They will have, and they'll have, 22 channels of EVS. And somebody's got to pick those pick the one that has the best shot at the best time. And a director can't even see all of them a lot of times. So they'll have assistant directors or sub-directors that are basically choosing the best shots for the current play, and they will offer up maybe 5 of the best to view for the teller, and they'll do them in groups. So they can choose before the director calls it, before the TD has to switch to it. That's a lot of buttons for the TD to keep track of, and the director, a lot of monitors for the director to watch. And you'd go cross-eyed watching 53 monitors at the same time. So they parcel out the job between sub-technical directors and directors, and the main technical director and director, choosing the right shots.
Jason Beish.
I mean, okay, I kind of reject the premise. A properly crewed and staffed technical director can call a fantastic number of cameras, like just an insurmountable number, like, the more than you'd ever see in any like sane, even Alex Lindsay grade production. That said, I'd say, if per segment, maybe 10-minute segment, you have redundant shots and you're not using one over the other, then the shot becomes redundant. That said, this really, really depends on what you're shooting. There is no magic rule or magic ratio here, especially when you add in, PTZs or operators, but again, like I keep coming back to it, what you are trying to cover is going to determine the number of shots you need.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was thinking back to the days when I was learning how to do switching. I used to have friends, and we got together kind of a music performance, and I remember the first time I had 4 live cameras. And I remember thinking, wow, this is complicated. It's not, but there is a certain kind of logarithmic progression. When you have one camera, that's simple. That's your shot, and you just pay attention to it. But you add a second one, and it's like, okay, when do I go to the other? And you have all the editing things of at what point does this content need to switch to the next content. You add a third, and suddenly you can go from 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 3 to 2, 3 to 1, and there's a lot more decisions to make. When you get up into this number of cameras, I have so much respect for the people who can literally understand how exactly what the audience needs to see to understand. And I was watching somebody on one of the YouTube shows, and they were switching a baseball game, and it was just beautiful to see every call they made helped you understand how the play had taken place. The context was correct. As soon as the guy hit the long drive and he knew it was a home run, they switched back to the batter's face as he watched it go over at exactly the right moment. And it really did tell the story brilliantly. It gave me infinite respect for the tech crews, the director, the tech director, the team. There was 3 people working together to call that. And, with great experience, they really do a brilliant job of telling a story with multiple cameras. So, to my mind, you just need as many cameras as you need to do the kind of work that those professionals do in literally bringing the audience inside something happening in real time and explain it beautifully. And those folks, particularly in sports, do that every single day. And I just have infinite admiration for them. Next question.
Mike Edwards in Brooklyn, New York asks, morning everyone, panel, which workflow would you recommend for a better image? Program out of a Blackmagic 2ME 4K to bidirectional converter, then HDMI back into the Mac Mini, or a UVC straight out of 2ME 4K into a Mac Mini?
Ronnie Hofsroy.
So if you're maximizing at 1080, you could use the UVC. Be aware that there is a known problem with Constellation 4Ks and HD UVC outputs. We have officially stopped using that as a reliable source going into anything. The reason for that is that software handles the signal type coming from these devices differently, and not all devices support this, especially on Mac platform. So be aware, maximum 1080 on the UVC. And the other option you had is also not making sense for me. You can't send a SDI signal into a bidirectional converter and then have it go into a Mac. You need some kind of a capture device. So you need a 4K capture device that is reliable, capturing this signal going into your computer. And most of us that actually do 4K is using something like Magewell or different type of converters that I'm pretty sure some other people on the panel can talk a little bit more in detail about.
Guy Cochran.
Yeah, that UVC output's going to be compressed. So, I mean, it'll work, and depending on what you want to do, if you're just bringing it into Zoom, I mean, that's why they put it on there, is just for a simple, hey, I just need to patch this into Zoom, and I don't really care about the color fidelity because it's going to get squashed anyway by Teams or Zoom or one of those other low-level platforms. But if you are streaming and recording and you want the best quality, then as Ronnie said, you want to get some other kind of device, and those could be AJAs, or in the Blackmagic lineup, you can go as cheap as an Ultra Studio. If you're not doing 4K, you can, for $149, that'll get you 1080p, and then you can walk it up to an Ultra Studio 4K at $1,165. And then if you want to throw it in, I have this one here. This is what I use in a Sonnet chassis. The Decklink 4K Extreme 12G is what I use.
Next question.
Guy Veely in Henderson, Texas asks, Elgato Network Dock fails randomly. Stream Deck pedal does not connect at all despite being listed as compatible. Any ideas on how to fix this? Router is a Peplink B-One. Switch is a Negear BS308EP PO plus.
Yeah, that's confusing. Jason Bache.
This is the first I've heard of it. Then again, I haven't actually tried to route these packets over the internet, and instead of have thus far only used the intranet. Well, no, actually, now that I think about it, no, I have used, I have used some internal means, and I have yet to have a problem like this. Guy, what do you think?
Guy?
Yeah, so Jeff actually pinged me last night with this problem, and it was discussed on After Hours. And I have the network dock here, and Muddy had said that he was using a Stream Deck Plus, so I was like, maybe it's the Stream Deck Plus. I went and grabbed a Stream Deck Plus because I had been using the network dock, which is this little device here hanging off the back. So basically, it's converting USB-C to your network. So in his particular case, I'm going to guess that it's something with an overlap of the same address being used. If you set it to static, you might have some other device on your network that's also using that, because he says it's getting, he sees it, but then it's intermittent. So my guess with the Peplink B-One, you could set an IP reservation. So I would give this MAC address its own IP address, and that way it's locked in there. And every time you plug it in, no matter where you plug it in, it works. But I've been burning this one in since he mentioned it last night. And I'm running, you can see things are changing. You can see all my different buttons are working, so I don't want to push any. Let's see, format. Yeah, I don't want to press the format button live on air and nuke my hyperdeck. I'm glad I didn't press that one.
Reboot and kill the code is not the button.
Whoops.
Anyway, Jeff, come back and let us know. It's a fascinating process, and I didn't even know what a static IP was when I started on this show back in the early days, and now I at least understand the basic concept. Next question.
Zach Stallsmith in Chautauqua, New York asks, with Windows 10 support ending today, how might this affect productions or individuals that are usually behind on updating operating systems?
Courtney Gooden, start us off.
Well, you should update today. Or yesterday, and there is a way to buy another year. I don't think you have to pay. You can probably do it for free. Engadget has an article on how to sign up for Windows 10 extended security updates, and this is the only thing that they're really stopping today. They're not turning off Windows 10. They're just, not going to create security updates. So any kind of new viruses or attacks that might be out there that might be discovered for Windows 10 won't be supported in the future unless you signed up for the extended security updates, which will give you another year. I have systems. All of our teleprompting systems still run on Windows XP, and the way we deal with that, they're solid. They work all the time. The way we deal with the fact that they dropped updates for that about 10 years ago, or 11, 12 years ago, is we just don't ever connect them to the internet, and that keeps them really safe. I actually take out the Wi-Fi modules out of the computer so you can't accidentally have the thing lock on to a local access point and put itself on the internet to try and do some kind of update, or, XP is kind of vulnerable to exploits out there on the naked web. So we just make sure that all of our files come in over a USB key that's come from a trusted source. And that way we don't have any problems with dealing with any security issues. And it keeps the programs and the computers solid so they're not interrupted by internet updates all the time.
Jason Bache.
Let me start by saying that I'm very much in favor of security updates and patching. That said, I'm also a very big favor of not letting Microsoft do whatever it wants, whenever it wants, to any system, production or otherwise. I really like Steve Gibson's In Control, which is this clever little app that'll just do a quick registry change inside of Windows that will prevent and lock any future updates and allow you to just, with one touch of a button, allow further updates the minute you want them. Last week, I think it was September 30th, Security Now 1045, Steve explained exactly how to nudge Windows 10 into ESU without actually having to pay for it using what's called the backup method. And it included a whole bunch of stuff. GitHub for a guy named Ask Woody. And so far as I can tell, it's the cleanest possible way to do this.
Zach, good luck. Next question.
Mike Edwards in Brooklyn, New York asks, panel, I have a Mac Mini in an xMac mini server with a Sonnet Bluetooth adapter. However, my Mac is not finding my Blackmagic micro panel. Any suggestions to get Bluetooth to work?
Ronnie Hofsway is going to try to diagnose with you. Ronnie?
Yeah, so if my mind serves me correct, I don't think this is the panel we are talking about. I don't think it has actually a Bluetooth connection. I think you have to use a USB cable. Don't hold me to that, but I'm pretty sure. And when I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so you can't get there from here because it doesn't have Bluetooth. Well, that at least sends you in a different direction, and maybe that little USB cable will take care of it. Next question.
Douglas Carmichael asks, what tripod does the panel prefer for shooting with an iPhone?
Ronnie Hofsway is going to start us off here. Whoops, Ronnie, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry. I wouldn't be using a tripod at all. If I was, just choose the one that is kind of stable. We tend to use monopods, Sirui. That's really a mouthful to say, Sirui. I'm not sure if that's correct pronunciation. We got those that are carbon fiber, and they are really lightweight and really rugged. And they also have this small tripod foot, which is adjustable in any direction. So you can lock it off or you can remove it entirely. And there is also a quick release on top so that you can have the entire phone with the cage or the adapter taken off in a hurry if you are in a hurry. So that is the ones we are using. And also you can use that monopod to elevate your shot. You can lift it high above you and simulate a drone shot, etc. So that is the most flexible stand we have found for our phones.
Courtney Gooden.
You know, I just a tripod for an iPhone, I wouldn't shoot with an iPhone, first of all. But if you are, any cheap still tripod will work. You can get them for around $15 for a static shot. If you're going to move the phone around, so if you want to do smooth pans and tilts, then you're going to have to up the ante quite a bit to $1,000 or more for even some of the lower end fluid heads are going to run you about $1,000 because the problem is the iPhone has no mass on it. So trying to pan and tilt smoothly without any type of mass on top of that tripod is going to be kind of jerky. So I would suggest getting something like an Osmo gimbal for your phone. And that way you can handhold it and get those really smooth shots if you're going to follow somebody around or use it in a fashion to get more cinematic shots with than trying to spending $2,000 on a tripod to mount a $800 phone on. Is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I'm going to support what everybody said here. My wife works in a newsroom now, and they just outfitted their journalists with kits, and they went with very inexpensive, essentially plastic. I don't think they're carbon fiber. I think they're plastic tripods. They're about $25 a piece, but all those journalists are going to do is set it up, clip the phone into the top bracket, and then go out in front of it and do an interview in a static shot. For that, you don't need anything other than something that reliably gets the phone to a certain level, frames it correctly, and sits there and doesn't do anything else. But as soon as you try to move a camera and do pan and tilts, as Courtney so well articulated, whole different ball game, and you're moving up in orders of magnitude in cost. And good luck with it. Jason Bache?
Yeah, I honestly think the best tripod for an iPhone, if you have the facing camera, the one that I have is from Small Rig. Alex has shown, feels like 5 different ones. But assuming you can actually see full view, I think that the best way to go here is a DJI gimbal. Just the small phone gimbal will really do you well here.
Courtney Gooden?
Yeah, I was just going to show you one of the Amazon Basics. These still camera tripods that you can find. Here's the Amazon Basics for $18.99. We'll do what we were saying. If you're going to use a static, set it up for a static shot like a webcam or something. But and these have pan tilt heads on them. But like I say, when you put something as light, this one comes with an iPhone holder over here for it.
I think that's exactly the same model that the newsroom bought for their 10 kits, and they're fine. Yes, they're probably going to, the leg locks are not great, and they're probably going to end up, but they've got 10 of them. So they're going to send 3 or 4 news reporters out. If one of them fails, you just grab one of the other ones.
And you get down to these that are like $10 that are designed for just holding your phone at a certain angle, static shot. It has a little ball adjustment on the top. But design, you can use it as a selfie stick to get up high. This will let you raise it up high and still give you little fold-out legs. Not very stable. I would not use this outdoor in wind because you will find your iPhone in little cracked pieces of glass on the ground.
Let me add to that. I wouldn't even use it in an interior meeting or something like that, because if somebody walks by it and the carpet moves, that little stalk will end up waving around. But yeah, I've got a couple of those and I use them when it's appropriate. Anyway, thanks for the question, Douglas. Next question.
Wayne Netter in Mumbai asks, I have an audio-technica ATH-M 50XSTS stream set for my live stream of sports. My question is the grill on the microphone front and back. 1, why the front and the back? 2, picks up the breeze easily, so sourcing some dead cats. Will this affect the mic at all?
Yes, the answer is anytime you put something in front of the microphone, it's going to have an effect on the sound quality of it. It'll depending on the kind of microphone and the kind of sound you're trying to record, it might or might not be something worrisome for you, but it will sound slightly different. As to why the grill is on the front and the back, in some cases, like on the microphone I'm talking into here, there's a suspended diaphragm inside, and it can actually get sound from around it if you have it in omni position. So some microphones have open diaphragms front and back because that's how the microphone is designed to work. Others, it's just a cosmetic thing. I see a lot of cheap mics that do not operate on the same principle as the expensive one they're trying to look like, and they just want it cosmetically to look kind of sort of like an expensive mic. So sometimes there's a decoupling between how the mic works and how it's designed. Ronnie Hofsoy?
Yeah, so this is a cardioid microphone. I've probably used this before, but the reason for it has 2 openings is that you actually gather the sound coming from the front, and then you make it out of phase from the ones that are on the inside, so that it actually kind of zooms in towards your mouth and disregard what is seen as noise coming from the outside. But I definitely see the problem here, and the problem is that you have a lot of wind where you are standing. Just try to find some decent dead cats. And by the way, if you source them from Australia, they are not called dead cats, they're called dead koalas instead.
Wind weasels. I'm calling them wind jammers, just so the cat people don't get upset with me. Be careful of that. Jason?
So for those who aren't lucky enough to be in the chat, Mickey's answer is pretty much perfect. I'm going to read the beginning of it verbatim. Unidirectional microphones utilize sound hitting the rear of the diaphragm through acoustic dampening in order to cancel off-axis sound and create a null in the pickup pattern, which is why, covering the entire thing is somewhat important, but you're going to have to make some EQ changes. That last little bit was from me.
Hey, don't forget, we're always taking your questions. You can ask them, chat about them in Mukana. If you haven't been in the Mukana system, you're really kind of missing half the show because there's a robust chat that happens there, people talking about our questions, and it's a lot of fun. Great community. If you'd like to join it, go to officehours.global/join. That's officehours.global/join. We'll send you an email within a day or two, a couple of little things for you to do, but then you can get into this community, and it's really a great place to meet people, chat, or you can just sit and listen. And there's a lot more content relative to our questions that happens there every day. officehours.global/join. Next question.
Paul Walhus in Austin, Texas asks, Google just released Gemini Enterprise and Amazon dropped a competitor Quick Suite. Which would be the most useful in media production industry? It includes an About Amazon link.
Courtney Gooden keeps an eye on all of this stuff happening. Courtney, what do you think?
Well, as far as media production, maybe the Amazon is unproven yet. This is their first. They're just dipping their toe into the generative AI world. But seeing as the fact that they have AWS out there with all these cloud servers that are available to run this stuff on and to integrate with, the new Amazon supposedly integrates with any of those cloud-based Office 365 apps, and it's an agentic AI. And I think their goal here with Amazon is to eventually move this to their home devices, the A-Lady and their Alexa, so that I have the Alexa Plus, which is their AI-operated version of the home assistants, voice assistants. And I think they're looking for ways to monetize that because it has been a money loser for them all these years. And so they're setting up a way to generate a revenue stream to kind of support those devices. And I think making them agentic is one of the ways, which is the new hot thing in AI. Also, Copilot, here's an article on Microsoft that is now has added to Copilot, which is built into every Windows 11, the ability to create Office 365 docs that sync with Gmail, which Copilot now you can actually create a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet and output it and have Copilot create it for you directly in the agentic AI. So it can create something and then use your Gmail to mail it out to a group of people. So they're all trying to monetize this with a monthly subscription fee to bring in more money and make them much more useful in production and media. You can use it for coordinating. You could use these AIs for creating your call sheets and mailing them out to everybody on the crew, et cetera. So this is going to be more useful in production, I think, for everyone.
Guy Cochran.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that Paul's asking an enterprise question because I know he's not spending money in the enterprise space. Like, for instance, we had, at my former company, we had NetSuite by Oracle, which was an $8,000 a month version of QuickBooks. I mean, most people would just use QuickBooks Enterprise. So last night on Extra Hours, we talked a little bit about ChatGPT's Dev Day and something more useful for the media production industry they showed in their demo, which was they took some FR7 Sony cameras and live, they had it build out some code that started moving the camera around, and they did that live. So it just depends on what you want to do. My friend Churig and I have been buying these little B-Link by Courtney, B-Link computers, and we've been installing Ubuntu on there and then putting Claude Code on there, and we're able to do some things like I put Kalaba SRT ingest to NDI. So there's things that are in our industry that make sense that you can have AI help you with, and so I have Claude Code, and Claude Code's helping me build like my little SDI to OMT app. It just depends on what you want to do. But in this case, these are more about tying MCPs together. So you're saying like, hey, you have this database over here, let me analyze that data, and this is a flow so that you could connect them. And so I'm kind of confused as to why Paul's asking this question because he doesn't have like 29, like in the example in the article, there's 29 disparate things that this thing connects to. And for enterprise, it's like, okay, give me my financials and give me my inventory and give me the shipping, what's inbound. And so a lot of this stuff is just, for big enterprise where you're doing, 20,000 employees and whatnot. So, Paul, if you want to clarify your question, maybe I'm missing something here because this is like unless you have some enterprise thing that you haven't shared with us, I think it's just smaller productions that you're working on. So let us know how we can help, but maybe clarify that question a little bit better.
Yeah, maybe it's just pure curiosity. Like last night, I don't know why, it was right before bed, I thought, I wonder if all these virtual cloud services have a little virtual room where they meet and swap ideas. Anyway, the virtual system picket fence behind the properties of each of them. Anyway, next question.
Let's see. Andre Dole in Berlin asks, when using the BM micro panel with a Constellation 2ME, can I reroute the input buttons, like, for example, having inputs 1 and 4 and 10 and 14 on the first 8 buttons of the panel?
Ronnie, how so?
No, the same goes for this. This is the other panel. So this is the ATEM micro panel that is controlling the ATEMs. I don't think you can configure that. And if I remember correctly again, the main reason for me not getting those when they was released was exactly the lack of configuration or reconfiguration, how the buttons are. So we went with the buttons from BitFocus instead, or BitFocus Companion and StreamDecks. But I might be wrong. I'm not entirely sure.
Jason Beisch.
I could have sworn in inputs that this can be done. If you go into preferences and then inputs, it's either the little gear at the bottom of the Blackmagic app, or Command comma for preferences, and I could swear that there's something where you can actually reconfigure the input buttons to make them, whatever you are, basically whatever you want in any order that you want. But I haven't personally done this with the Constellation 2ME, but I don't see why they would change that design element.
Hey, don't forget, if you have questions you want to get into the show and you want to do it the quickest way possible, I'm about to click up the QR code in the bottom. That leads you to askofficehours.global. That's kind of the quick question thing, askofficehours.global, or you can just shoot the QR code with your camera if you want to do that. It takes you right into the QA system in the back end, and make sure that when you put in a question, it's one question per entry and formed smoothly so we can read it live on the air. And that gets you in as quick as possible. That's askofficehours.global. Next question.
Danny Grizzle in Longview, Texas asks, I just had a good experience with a RAID rebuild after replacing a failed mechanism in a QNAP NAS. OTOH G-Tech RAIDs do not seem to automatically rebuild when a drive is replaced. OWC seems good about automatic rebuilds also. Recommended brands?
Something I'm going to suggest, we have a show on Friday where we have a lot of very high-level cloud and networking people stop by. No one in this particular group raised a hand on this one, but I'm going to suggest that it might be a good question for the Friday show. We do have kind of little themes in here. Typically, Wednesday is our audio day, Thursday is our video day, Friday is kind of networking and things like that. So that might be useful. Although Guy Cochran has an idea for you here. Guy?
Yeah, I've had a couple hardware raids where we kind of expected them to fail. We had our hot swaps standing by, ready to just pull out the dead drive. And you would just hear this thing beeping from down the hall. And it was like every year or so we'd have one drive that failed. But usually you would just put it in, and then there was we're using Atto. It was connected mini SAS. This is a while back. So the rebuild process was some software that you had to go into and actually say okay. And the same with G-Tech. I was just looking up a video that we had produced on the G-Tech, which is this video, how to configure your G-Tech G-RAID, and depending on if you have it on 5 or 6, and if you in this video, we actually just pull the drive to see what happens and how it reacts. But you do need to go into this back-end software to tell it to rebuild that RAID. And so there's only certain RAIDs that allow you to do this. You got to have enough drives, and like mine, I have these G-RAID drives sitting over here, and I have spares ready to go just in case, because it's just a matter of when. So if you have important data and it's important to keep it flowing, get one of the spares ready to go so you have it ready to rebuild, and it will usually ask you first. You have to. It's not just automated. Not maybe in the data centers. I'm not at that level, but for the simple G-RAIDs, it is a button that you have to say rebuild, and it takes a while. Be ready. Like your speeds will slow down dramatically as the rebuild process occurs too. So be aware of that if your editors are editing or something like that, that it's going to take a while for it to. So if you add like 1,000 megabytes a second, now you're going to drop down to like 250. So people might have to be aware that production's going to slow down. And that's why some of the higher end ones like the GB Labs, they have 24 drives inside of there. So if one fails, it's not that big a deal. It could keep up the speeds.
I remember thinking the reason there's a stat for MTBF, mean time between failures, is that failures happen. There's no reason for the stat unless it's a real thing. Next question.
Let's see. Richard Wells in Tacoma, Washington asks, good morning. Are there any practical or effective use cases for physical media, CD, DVD, etc. in the 2025 production environment? Please stay healthy.
Courtney, are you holding on to your physical media until they pry it from your cold, dead hands?
I wish I could show you, but over here is a cabinet full of VHS tapes, about 250 of them that I'm holding on to for some reason. But every now and then, the only reason I would say is for physical media these days is for deep archives. Stuff from 10 years ago, you have to have some way of playing it back. That is becoming more and more problematic as the machines, the outdated CD and DVD players are getting harder and harder to keep up to date and maintained. And I have a VHS tape deck right over here, a Panasonic that is both a VHS and DVD recorder, and it can dub from the VHS to the DVD recorder. And I have one that also can put it onto a thumb drive. So that is the preferred method of having quick access to something. If you need quick access to it, physical media like optical media like CD or DVD. I can't remember the last time I burned anything to CD or DVD for storage. But since micro TF cards, came around and got to be cheap, like $9 a piece. I haven't burned any physical media lately, and that's where I tend to archive stuff onto 128 gig or 256 gig thumb drives. Is a great way to have a bunch of stuff available to you that you can plug in and access at a moment's notice. I do have old software when I want to go back and find something I wrote back 12 years ago. And with Windows, you can still run those programs that were written 20 years ago on today's version of Windows 11. But I go back to some CDs or DVDs where I stored all the source files and the EXEs, and I can actually go back and retrieve them. So only when I need to go back to the Wayback Machine and find something that I'd forgotten about 10 years ago do I use the physical media these days.
I was rooting around in the storeroom and I pulled out 2 big spindles of DVDs, and I thought, man, there's 200 of these sitting there, and I'm just, I don't even want to take the time to run them through the shredder. Well. Next question.
Paul Walhus in Austin, Texas asks, Office Hours dismissed the second gen of the Instas 360 link, and now there's a third gen. Should we dismiss this one also?
Ronnie Hofsoy is going to help you out here. Ronnie?
Well, I normally don't correct Paul because he asks these incredible questions all the time and putting us to the wall. But this time, Paul, you have gotten it a little bit wrong. The Wave is actually just a microphone, which is a conference type of microphone. And that microphone can also utilize the Link 2, which is the one that we disregard because of the lack of this kind of set motion, so the yaw, and only goes vertically and horizontally, which is kind of good if you are on a flat table and everything is good. So you can then just purchase this Wave microphone and put the Insta360 Link number 2, version 2, on top of that, and you should be good to go, both with audio and video.
Courtney, you wanted to get in?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think I looked at this earlier, if I'm remembering correctly, is the Wave also is a directional microphone with a mic array, and so it chooses the direction, and it can pass that information onto the 360 link, so it can pan the camera to whoever's talking. So I think that's, if I'm remembering correctly, that may be how it integrates with the newer 360 link. And of course, since this is designed to sit on a table, you're not going to have a table that's sitting, unless you're on a rocky surface. So you're normally going to
Unless you built it yourself.
Yeah.
Bad
or
carpenter.
You're just going to become of an earthquake. Yeah. So you're not going to need the pitch control very much. But so pan tilt is probably all you need to integrate with this Wave directional microphone.
Let's go to the next question.
Neil Avaledo in Boca Raton, Florida asks recommendations for updated Final Cut training.
Oh boy, you can't swing a dead cat on the internet without finding training for almost every piece of software out there. I think the days of traditional monolithic training programs are fading a little bit. I will say that companies like Ripple Trading and other people that we've come to trust, if you like guided training, everybody has a different learning style. For me, I like an overview before I dive into the details. So I did things like took the original Final Cut Apple training classes, not because I definitely needed that particular style, but I wanted to see, are there parts of this software that I don't normally run into that I just want to be aware of, so that later on, if I have a question, I know in my head, that software does that. I just need to go figure out how. Other people are happy to just do a web search. Plus, now in the world of Chat GPT and things like that, people are asking questions specific to a very small vertical. Like if I want to do a specific type of color correction inside this software, GPT and the rest of those generative AI kinds of programs will often lead you to the information and get it to you more quickly. So I think training is changing in that way. The answer is, it depends on your learning style, Neil, but there are plenty of ways to access information about these programs out there. Really, it's a matter of finding the one that works right for you, in my opinion. So good luck, and I hope you have as much fun with the program as I have. Next question.
Caleb Groom in Pinehurst, North Carolina asks, is ZoomISO still the right tool to dig into for producing a show from multiple Zoom participants?
Guy Cochran's going to give you his opinion.
Yeah, it really depends on how much money you want to spend and if you're a Mac or a PC person, and do you need to put people or video feeds back in. So ZoomISO is not that much money. You buy it now from from Zoom directly, not from the Liminal app. From the Liminal website. It's included for about $125. You get access to tiles and what's the other one? I can't remember the name of the other one. But anyways, here's ZoomISO running where I have a deck link. So if you have an SDI workflow, this can work for you. So I'm using ZoomISO to join a meeting. All the people appear, and now I could say, do I want them on my deck link, or do I want them NDI, or do I want to push them out SRT? But you could see the different outputs here. And then for my workflow, I have them going into an ATEM Extreme, which you're seeing the output here. So this is the multi-viewer of that. And then there's Mix Effect, which now if you want to use Mix Effect, you can fly these guys around and you can make these Stream Deck buttons. So it depends on what you want to do, because I might want to use Zoom Room's custom AV instead, but now I'm looking at $50 a month per room. And with that, I can actually feed 4 back in, and I can run it on a PC. So are you a Mac person? Are you a PC person? And then don't forget that there's other avenues such as Mimo Live. If you just want to go pure software, there's vMix that will also let you do pure software or Wirecast. And those are all going to give you one input back in. And then your computer, it just depends on how strong it is as to how many pulls that you could pull in, and your bandwidth. You're looking at about 5 megabytes per stream. And you're pretty much going to max out your computer after a certain number of inputs, depending on how strong it is.
Next question.
Paul Walhus in Austin, Texas asks, what is the most important soft skill a technical director must possess that cannot be learned by simply mastering equipment?
Oh, man, we could spend the next week on this. Interesting question, Paul. Jason Bass is going to start us off.
All these superlatives, like there are 10 things, but okay, I'll go right to the top. You have to have a persona. You have to have a kind of a gravitas that makes people want to work with you in very, very high stress, high pace environments. You have to reward the people around you, and you have to make them feel good for the work that they're doing for you, even when they make mistakes.
Yeah, that's interesting. Courtney Good?
Well, besides knowing the gear inside and out, whatever switcher you're going to be using, you have to know, how the buses are arranged, which buses feed into which sub buses, and you have to have develop a sense. And it's not used. This term is not used very often. Is ear-hand coordination, where when you hear the director call "Ready 1-1," your hand goes right to where the button is for number 1. So you have to have a kinesthetic sense of where everything is laid out on that particular switcher and being able to move your hand quickly to the right button at the right time, so that that has to come from your ears, not from your eyes. You may be looking at the monitor bank to see maybe what the director is going to call, so you can kind of prep that where you see something that looks good and you think he's going to go to 2. You'll have your finger on number 2, but to know you can almost do this blindfolded. So by putting your hands out in the right direction, if you're on button number 1 or number 4, you can tell by just feeling your way around on the switch panel. And so developing your ear-hand coordination is quite important.
Guy Cochran.
Yeah, I'd say remaining calm under pressure because from what I've seen, when you get into these big productions with the huge panels that are 4 MEs and you have a lot coming at you, it's just the ability to do, triage if it gets chaotic, where you're doing the most important thing first, but being able to just breathe your way through it and not get reckless and accidentally hit something that goes to air that is not what you wanted. So it's being calm under pressure. And then do you actually have a director above you that's giving you direction, or are you a technical director where you're on a smaller scale where you're actually giving feedback to your camera ops as well, because that's a different soft skill to have to be able to get the shot. Like I work with a TD where we're in a rhythm now where, because I've experienced as a TD, that I actually will frame up shots and give him what I think because I'm looking at the story overall and I'm looking at the multi-view going, where's he going to go? Like I need to give him an option. I need to give him outs. I need to give him, a wide shot. He's going to go to a crowd reaction because I'm running 5 PTZs. And so I'm able to kind of dodge and weave and maximize the use of our cameras because I'm always trying to find something to give him. And so there's a rhythm, and it's because he's a nice guy too. It's like one of those things where you start to have like a brotherhood, or sisterhood or whatever. They're like family. Your team is you want to make a good show. And so when you have that camaraderie because you have each other's back, I think that's the other skill, is being able to be a team player and just at the end of the day, you have the same goal, which is to make it a good show, so that you live for the next one, because you don't want to die on the hill, because of an error, and you'll never work in this town again, kid. So yeah, a lot of it is rehearsal though too. If you have a chance to go through and really, if you look at like the Super Bowl behind the scenes, a lot of it is they're just reading through the pages. It's all rehearsed. They know exactly what camera they're going to. And unless something happens, that's the rhythm they're going to it. So it's just a cadence and, again, calm under pressure.
Ronnie Hofsoy.
Yeah, I'm just going to be fast here now. I think one of the soft skills, or many of the soft skills that TD should have, is taught by the Zen philosophy. I'm so amazed of the good TDs I met up in my life, and they seem to have this kind of extreme overview, calmness, knows everything, and have all these tricks up their sleeve, and they are doing 100 things that you didn't even existed as tasks. And this is something that is really impressive, seeing a good TD at work.
You know, one of the things that amazed me when I was starting out in the business is that I ran across both what I call whip crackers and back patters. Some technical directors or directors that I worked with they yell at everybody. They seem to be constantly upset, but they get incredibly good results. And oddly, their teams do not want to run away from them because they're always learning. Then you had back patters who were constantly encouraging and trying to bring people along. They had the same level of loyalty and got the same results. And I just realized it's never one thing. These soft skills, I kind of got to the point where it came down to authenticity, to be one type of personality and to try to direct others in a creative environment who have different types of personalities is one of the things you have to do. That's why I came down to effectiveness. It really depends. Your style can be important, and you certainly don't want to lose crew because you're too harsh on them or you're too easy on them and you're not pushing them to be as good as they can be. But it's a dance there. I'm going to let Courtney have the last word here before we finish up.
Just master the double punch, because you never know when you're going to have to punch two buttons at the same time to get out of whatever situation you're in. I've been in situations 50 years ago where you'd be in a complex overlay situation, and then you're supposed to fade to black, and you go, well, you got to get out of this before I can fade to black. And so you got to sometimes punch 2 or 3 buttons at the same time to get you back to a point where you can go somewhere else. So figure out all those situations where you can get trapped and master the double punch.
Thank you all for watching the show today. We appreciate it. Or listening, if that was your mode today. Regardless, we really appreciate the fact that you come here every day. We can't do it without you. We can't do it without everybody who works on this show. Producers, those of you who put questions into the queue, thank you so much for participating here. We can't do the show without you. To the panelists, same exact thing. We cannot do the show without people who have years, decades, sometimes amazing amounts of specific technical expertise and are happy to come here and share it with everybody who's watching. So thank you, panelists. And to our amazing back-end crew, that quiet army of people behind the scenes who make this possible every single day. We truly appreciate your contributions to this. We've been going for a long time, and we hope we continue to go into the future. Thank you for watching. Let's see. Today is Tuesday. I don't think there's any evening shows today, but through the rest of the week, don't forget David Paskin on Thursday and other shows. Check the website. We'll see you all tomorrow. Let me do the teletraversal. 37,000 miles. That's 59,000 kilometers, 290 million. Bananas for scale. Thanks for watching.
See, our technical director did a little premature fade to black there. See, there's a lesson learned.
That was my fault. I made it clearly sound like I was diving out before the teletraversal.
Dance.
Wasn't enough screaming in the back end. They should be screaming more.
I'll never forget, I was shooting a guy on stage once, and he had the weirdest body language. He would lean left and then cut right. I just did a horrible camera job.
Call that a juke.
Yeah, it was like he was like a NFL backfield runner. He's going left. No, he's going right. What?
Yeah. I just realized it's been more than 55 years since I was a technical director. More than
wow. Holy camole.
Gosh.
What were you cutting on?
Grass Valley back in '68.